So on number 10, if you're having trouble with number 10, this guy, this is what it looks like when you click on it to edit. All right, if it's small again, you can click on it. If it looks like this when you open it, drag it out to make it bigger so it's easier for us to work with. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is going to go to the select line button, hit select line, and we're going to go to curve. Okay, now part of this is we have parts of this whole thing here is constructive and parts are destructive. If we have constructive interference, you have to add the amplitudes together. And how do you know if it's constructive? Well, if it's on the same side of the horizontal black line here, the thick equilibrium line, if they're on the same side, it's constructive, and you would have to add the two values. If it's on opposite sides, then it's destructive, and what's going to happen is there's going to be a reduction in amplitude. So the red line that we're making is going to wind up being, the red line that we're making is going to be the actual full interference wave of these two individuals. So the first position, now every single line we're going to have a click. So keep that in mind. So right here, they're both at 0 and 0. So 0 plus 0 is 0. We're going to make a click. Now the next line over, one of the waves has an amplitude of, how do I tell? Well, I'm looking at the taller one first. That one's a 1, 2, 3, 4. So the taller one has an amplitude of positive 4. The shorter amplitude wave is a full 1, and we're going to call this 1.5. Now see how both waves are on the same side of the horizontal line, which means it's constructive. And so you have to add the amplitudes together. So I'm going to go to the top of the first guy, the taller of the two, and I'm going to add a value of 1.5. Same side, add. Okay, so I'm going to go to the top of 4, and I'm going to go up 1, and then a half, and then I'm going to make my first click there. And when you do that, you can see that the line kind of drags and moves around however we need to. And like I said, every vertical line, we're going to have a click though. So the next vertical line, all right, you can see that on one of the waves, it is at 0. But on this wave, it's at a positive 2. So 0 plus a positive 2 is a positive 2. So right there is where you're going to make your click. Okay, so now we're going to go to our next line over. So in our next line over, one of these waves is at a positive 1.5, and the other is at a negative 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a negative 4 and a positive 1.5. You have to add them together. So by doing that, what is that? It's like a negative 2.5 about. So what we're going to do is you can go to the higher amplitude wave, all right, whichever of the individual waves has a higher amplitude, and then you can either add or subtract to it. So since this one is a larger amplitude, even though it's a negative value, all right, so negative 4, and this one is a positive 1.5. So I'm going to go from here up 1.5, basically because you're still adding the two waves together. So when I do that, I'm going to make a click. Okay, so now we got something there. At this vertical line here, you can see that both of them are intersecting here at 0. So that's super easy. You're going to go there. You're going to make a click. That. Okay, the next one, guys, is the next one constructive or destructive? Well, how do I tell? One of the waves is on top of this horizontal line, and this wave down here is on bottom. So when one's on top and one's on bottom, we have destructive right here. So this one is at a positive 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is at a negative 1.5, we're going to call it. So if you add those two together, it's a positive 2.5. Or the other way you can do it is go to the wave that has the higher amplitude. In this case, it's the 4. And since the other one is on bottom, you're going to basically subtract it, right? So I can go from here 4 minus this 1 and about a half right there. And I make a click. Now, what's cool about that is if you did the positive 4 plus a negative 1.5, that would still give you 2.5 when if we measure from the bottom, 1, 2, 2.5. So either way works, whichever you're more comfortable with. The next line over. This wave here that I'm kind of over with with the plus sign is at 0 when it's on this vertical line. The other one is down here at -2. So 0 plus a -2 is a -2. So we're going to be right there, and we're going to make our click. All right, the next vertical line over. One of the waves is down here at -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, -4, 1, 2, 3, yeah, -4. And this wave here, this guy is at a 1, and again, we're going to call it 1.5 just to keep it kind of consistent here. So since they're both on the same side, that is constructive interference. And so the amplitudes get added together. Again, same side, add them together. So 4 plus this 1.5, which so we would go to the bottom of this 4 and then go 1.5 and click. The next vertical line over, find where the waves meet. Okay, right there. They are at 0. So we're just going to go to 0, make our click. The next vertical line over, one of the waves has an amplitude of 4. The other has an amplitude of 1.5. They're on the same side. Add them together. So I go right here to the top of 4. I'm going to add 1.5 to it. 1.5. Make a click. Boom. And then go to the next. Right here, we got this one is at a +2. Right? One of the waves is at a +2 right here on this vertical line, and the other is at 0. 0 plus a +2 is +2. So I'm going to make a click there. The next vertical line over. One of them is at a -4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And the other is at a +1.5. So they're on opposite sides. So it'd be like you could basically do it one of two ways, okay? Add them together, -4 plus 1.5, which is a positive. You're going to get a -2.5. Or since they're on opposite ends of the horizontal here, okay, go to the higher amplitude wave, and then you either add or subtract. Now, if the other wave is on the opposite side of the horizontal, you'll subtract. So I'm going to go to the higher amplitude of them, which is 4. And now I'm going to basically, right, so you see how this is above? That's going to draw this line up here, 1.5. So I'm going to go to the -4, up 1.5. I hope you guys, again, see why that is happening, right? Because this is 1.5 up this way. So wherever this one is, whichever one has the larger magnitude, all right, doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, you're going to go to that one, and you're either going to add or subtract. So going over to the next vertical line, they both intersect here at 0. So I'm going to go over to the 0 and make a click. Next one, positive 1, 2, 3, 4, and the other one is underneath. So we're going to say it's a -1.5. So I'm going to go to the 4, and I'm going to go down 1.5. Make a click. All right, the next vertical line over is one of them is at 0, and the other one's at -2. So if you add those two together, that's a -2. So I'm going to go down, right, to the next vertical line over. I'm going to go here to this -2 and click. The next vertical line over. One of them is at -0.5, 1.5. The other one's at -4. Same side, you add them. So go to the bottom of the -4, and I'm going to add 1.5. So I'm going to go from here, 1.5. Click. Now they're both at 0. So I'm going to go to the 0 line, and I'm going to click. The next one, a +1.5 and a +4. So same side, just going to add them. So I'm going to go to the taller of the two amplitudes, which is this +4, and I'm going to add a +1.5. So go up 1.5 from there, click. This next vertical line, one of our waves is at a +2, the other's at 0. 0 and +2 together is a +2. The next vertical line over is a -4 and a +1.5. So I'm going to go down to this -4, and I'm going to go up 1.5 because it's basically adding a positive to it. So up 1.5, click, and then the last line here is that they're both on 0. So that'll be our final one. Now, if it's our final one, we're going to double click there. And this is what we should wind up getting. And now, if you hit the select button, you can move around without having to worry about clicking it or making anything else mess up. You're going to then change the line color, make it red, and we're going to change the thickness. You can change it to 3, you can change it to 4. Boom. Once you have completed that, you would hit save and close. All right. And then you have to determine whether or not, all right, each one of these letters is a constructive or destructive interference. So just kind of looking at them real quick. Constructive means both of the waves are on the same side of the horizontal. So at point A, yeah, they're both on the same side, constructive. Point B, both same side, constructive. Point C, both on the same side, constructive. Okay, you get the hang of that. And so you would be like, okay, A, B, C, keep going. Then destructive, which is only going to happen on this graph over here. So what you're looking at is letter G. First one, are both waves on the same side? Yeah, so G you would put constructive. H, right here, one of them is underneath the horizontal, all right, our equilibrium, and one of them is above. So in that case, that would be destructive. So like letter H would be like the first one over here. And you keep going until you've completed all those letters. All right, so you got those to do. You have these guys to complete, and then your true and falses. All right.